When heaven points to a day, it is not to frighten us, it is to awaken something within. The dates 25, 26, and 27 are not random, nor are they chosen by chance. They arrive like quiet footsteps in the night, unannounced, but meaningful. These days, marked with what some call danger, are not meant to instill fear. Fear is the reaction of those who are unaware, unprepared, or unwilling to look deeper. In truth, such days are like mirrors, showing us not the wrath of some outside force, but the condition of our inner world. Human beings often search for signs, warnings from the skies, prophecies in texts, messages in dreams. But even when these signs appear, only a few pause to reflect. Most rush to ask, what does it mean for me? What should I do? This question comes not from awareness but from panic. Instead, one must ask, why now? What is being revealed? What am I being invited to see that I have long ignored? The significance of these 3 days is not in external events, but in the internal confrontation they provoke. They are not days of punishment, they are days of clarity. Imagine standing in front of a mirror. At first, you only see your reflection, but if you look deeper, past your eyes, past your skin, you might begin to notice the tension in your jaw, the heaviness in your chest, the tiredness in your gaze. In the same way, these days hold up a mirror to humanity. They show us what we have built, what we have destroyed, and what we are becoming. Not all will want to look. Many will turn away, blaming the world, blaming fate, blaming bad energy. But those who are willing to remain still and observe will see truth. And truth, although uncomfortable, is liberating. It is not that God is punishing anyone. It is not that the universe has turned against us. Rather, there comes a time when accumulated chaos must surface, and when it does, it may feel like a storm. But storms are natural. They do not discriminate. They simply arrive when imbalance has gone too long unnoticed. And when they come, we must not ask, why is this happening to me? Instead, we must ask, what have I ignored for too long? What have I feared to face? Every society reaches a tipping point. It is not marked on a calendar, but felt in the collective spirit. People become too busy, too distracted, too divided. They forget the value of silence, the power of breath, the importance of stillness. They chase after things, more money, more praise, more comfort, never realizing that these pursuits often move them further from their essence. When days like these are marked, they are not only for retreat, they are for reflection. We are being asked to look honestly at what we've created, both within ourselves and in the world around us. Lockdowns, restrictions, fear, they are only symptoms. The real event is happening inside. There is a calling to return to presence, to return to responsibility, to return to the question, who am I beneath all this noise? These days offer no easy answers. They are not about prediction, they are about perception. The wise do not wait for answers, they deepen their awareness. They look not just outward, but inward, and what they find there, in the quiet, is often far more powerful than anything the world can throw at them. This is a sacred invitation to stop running, to stop numbing, to stop projecting, and instead to be with oneself fully, even when that self feels afraid, confused, or uncertain. These 3 days are an offering, not a curse, not a punishment, but a doorway, one that opens not with force, but with honesty. And on the other side of that door is transformation, not because the world changes, but because you do. So do not fear the days ahead. Do not fill them with worry or noise. Let them be quiet. Let them teach. Let them reflect to you all that has been buried beneath the surface. And when you sit in the stillness, when you allow yourself to see, you will understand. The danger was never the days themselves. The danger was in forgetting who you are. And now you are being reminded. People often misunderstand the meaning of lockdown. They see it only as a restriction placed upon their movement, an external force limiting their freedom. But the truth is far deeper, far more personal. Lockdown is not just about the closing of doors or the emptying of streets. The real lockdown, the one that matters most, begins within. It is internal. It is the confrontation with self that most try to avoid. And yet, it is in this confrontation that true freedom waits. When all distractions are stripped away, no noise from the outside world, no constant motion, no endless stimulation, we are left with one thing, ourselves. And for many, that is the scariest place to be. In the silence, we meet our own thoughts. In the stillness, we are face to face with our fears, our regrets, our confusion. That is the lockdown people fear the most. Not the one imposed by governments, but the one that demands stillness, solitude, and self-awareness. This is not a punishment. It is an opportunity, a rare chance to sit with the very parts of ourselves we usually run from. The ego resists this. It wants movement, validation, control. But when movement stops, when validation is no longer found in the eyes of others, and when control slips through our fingers, what remains? The breath, the body, the awareness of this moment. In that awareness, something beautiful begins to stir, presence. In this kind of lockdown, the external world may slow down, but the internal world begins to wake up. We start to notice things, subtle feelings, old wounds, forgotten dreams. At first it can feel overwhelming, like waves crashing in from all directions. But eventually, if we remain still, if we keep breathing, those waves settle. Clarity arises. We begin to see ourselves more clearly. Not who we pretend to be, but who we actually are. And from that place, real change can begin. Most people live at the surface of life, bouncing from one thing to the next, avoiding the depth. But depth is where truth lives. It is where strength is born. In stillness, we remember things we forgot in the rush. That peace is not found in noise. That strength does not come from control. And that clarity arises when the mind is quiet. A lockdown forces us to slow down, to stop chasing, to be still, and that stillness becomes sacred not because it is easy, but because it is honest. The uncomfortable truth is that many of us are locked down internally every day, whether there is an official order or not, trapped by our thoughts, caught in cycles of anxiety, buried beneath expectations. The walls are invisible, but they are real. So when an external lockdown comes, it simply brings those inner chains into sharper focus. It doesn't create the inner prison, it reveals it. And in revealing it, it gives us the chance to dismantle it. To do that, we must not resist the silence. We must sit with it. We must let it teach us. In that silence, we realize that our worth is not tied to productivity, that our identity is not found in constant doing, and that we are more than the roles we play. We come back to the breath. We come back to the body. We come back to the simple truth that we are here, and that this moment, however still, however quiet, is enough. The 25th, 26th, and 27th may come with warnings and headlines, with tension and fear, but they are also a sacred pause, an invitation to retreat not into panic, but into awareness. The chaos outside is just a reflection of the unrest inside, so the work is not to fix the outer world first, it is to still the inner one. That's where peace begins. That's where clarity lives. That's where real power returns. This is not about ignoring danger or pretending all is well. It is about facing the moment with awareness instead of fear. When you are grounded in stillness, when your breath is steady and your presence is full, you begin to see that you are not controlled by what happens outside. You respond rather than react. You act with intention, not impulse. That is the gift of inner lockdown. It trains the mind, disciplines the heart, and strengthens the soul. The question is not, how long will this last? The real question is, what will I learn in the stillness? Because once you've seen yourself clearly, your fears, your strengths, your shadows, you are no longer at the mercy of the world. You are centered. And in that center, there is peace, that no chaos can shake. So do not fear the lockdown. Do not rush to fill the silence. Let the quiet speak. Let the breath guide you. Let the moment show you what it has been waiting to reveal. Because in the end, the greatest movement you will ever make is the one that takes you inward. Most people fear danger because they misunderstand it. They see it as something outside of themselves, an event, a crisis, a sudden shift in the world that threatens their comfort or survival. But true danger rarely begins on the outside. It starts in the mind. It begins when awareness is lost, when we operate on autopilot, when we ignore the subtle signs that something is out of balance. These 3 days, 25, 26, and 27, are not about the danger of physical events alone. They are about the danger of unconscious living, the danger of ignoring what is quietly trying to wake us up. The world doesn't whisper warnings without reason. It doesn't mark days with energy or significance unless there is something vital beneath the surface. These days are a signal, not from chaos, not from fear, but from the deeper intelligence of life itself. When you tune in, when you become still, when you stop filling the silence with assumptions, you can sense it. A shift, a pressure, a stirring in the invisible. That sensation is not meant to scare you, it is meant to prepare you. It is meant to remind you that something is always moving beneath what you can see. And if you are present, you can feel it before it arrives. Danger in its purest form is not destruction. It is the moment before transformation. It is the friction that forms before change. And change, though necessary, is rarely gentle. It pulls, it bends, it exposes. It forces a confrontation between what is and what can no longer remain. Most people fight this. They deny the change. They cling to the old because the unknown feels terrifying. But refusing to change does not stop change from coming. It only makes it more painful. These 3 days carry this type of energy. Raw, honest, unfiltered. They are not about suffering, but about revealing what can no longer be ignored. To truly understand danger is to understand that it is not always visible. It does not always look like a storm or sound like a warning siren. Sometimes the most dangerous thing is the quiet choice to look away, to pretend not to feel what you feel, to numb yourself with distraction. That is where real danger lives, in disconnection. When you are disconnected from your body, your intuition, your truth, you become vulnerable, not just to outer events, but to inner collapse. These days are asking you to reconnect, to wake up before life forces it upon you. There is a reason these moments feel heavy. There is a reason the atmosphere shifts, because the deeper layers of existence are trying to speak. The question is, are you listening? Can you hear the subtle call beneath the noise? Can you feel the pull inward, asking you to pay attention, to be alert, to be present? That is the antidote to danger. Not panic, not escape, but presence. When you are present, truly rooted in the now, you become clear. You see beyond appearances. You sense the deeper flow. And in that space, you are not a victim of danger. You become a student of it. This does not mean you become passive or naive. It means you act from awareness, not fear. You prepare, not because you expect doom, but because you understand the importance of readiness, mentally, emotionally, spiritually. These days invite you to pause and ask the deeper questions. What have I been avoiding? Where have I allowed fear to lead? What part of me is still asleep, waiting to be shaken awake? If you can answer these questions with honesty, you will find that the so-called danger is not against you. It is your teacher. Sometimes life must tremble before it stabilizes. Sometimes the structure must crack so that truth can break through. We are not being punished. We are being refined. These 3 days are a sacred forge. And the heat you feel is not there to burn you, it is there to shape you, to awaken what is most real, most essential, most unshakable within you. The danger then is not in the day, it is in meeting the day, without consciousness. So breathe, listen, slow down. Don't ignore the signals, but don't feed the fear. Watch what arises in you. Notice where you still react, where you still resist, and in that noticing, something begins to shift. You begin to reclaim your power, not the power of control, but the power of clarity. And clarity, in moments like this, is everything. The real danger is not outside your window. It's in how you meet yourself in uncertain times. If you do so with fear, you become scattered, reactive, lost. If you do so with presence, you become focused, centered, unmovable. That is the invitation of these days. Not to survive them, but to be transformed by them. Not to avoid danger, but to understand it. To rise through it, and in doing so, to awaken parts of yourself that would otherwise remain dormant. So don't waste these days waiting for them to pass. Step into them fully. Be awake, be alert, be honest with yourself. Let them show you who you really are, beneath the noise, beneath the fear, beneath the roles and masks. Because on the other side of danger is depth, and on the other side of depth is freedom. When we speak of danger, most instinctively imagine chaos, accidents, violence, disaster, or the collapse of the familiar. But there is a much quieter, more subtle form of danger that often goes unnoticed. It does not shout. It does not come with flashing lights. It waits in silence, tucked into our routines, disguised as comfort, hidden behind distraction. And when the signs arrive, like the ones hovering over the 25th, 26th, and 27th, it is not the external world that must be feared, but the internal one we've been ignoring. These days are not about fearing what might happen outside. They are about waking up to what has already been happening inside. There is a kind of pressure that builds before transformation. It doesn't always look dramatic. It can feel like restlessness, irritability, an odd tension you can't explain. The air feels thicker, time feels heavier, and deep inside, something stirs, something primal, something ancient, something alert. Most people shake it off, try to push it down, blame it on stress or the news. But if you sit still, if you truly listen, you notice it's not just anxiety, it's awareness trying to rise. Something in you knows change is close. Something in you knows you can't keep living on the surface. The greatest danger is not what might happen, it's failing to see what is already being shown. These marked days are mirrors. They reflect back everything that has been suppressed, the decisions you've postponed, the truths you've avoided, the feelings you've numbed. They demand honesty. They do not allow you to sleepwalk through your life. If you are paying attention, you'll feel them asking the question most try to avoid. Are you really living in alignment with what matters? Most people want change, but they don't want disruption. They want growth, but they fear the discomfort it brings. But the path of awakening is not paved with ease. It requires confrontation. These days serve as a kind of spiritual checkpoint. Life is asking you, are you awake? Or are you still pretending not to know what you know? Are you ready to release what no longer serves? Or are you still clinging to the old out of habit? The danger isn't in the world. It's in your delay. The longer you ignore what your heart knows, the more intense the lessons become. Danger comes when intuition is silenced. When you betray your own knowing, even subtly, you invite imbalance. Life speaks in whispers first. If you listen, the path is clear. If you ignore the whispers, they grow louder. Eventually, they become thunder. These 3 days might feel like thunder to those who've avoided the whisper, but to the ones who've been listening, these days are sacred. They are a call to deepen, to anchor, to align. It's tempting to look outward during intense times, at the media, the systems, the predictions. But the real clarity comes when you turn your gaze inward. What are you being shown about your own life, your own choices, your own truth? Where are you out of balance? Where are you playing small, hiding, postponing the necessary leap? If you use these days to reflect deeply instead of reacting mindlessly, they become a gift, not a curse. Fear, when unconscious, scatters your energy. It clouds your mind, weakens your body, dulls your intuition. But when you face fear with presence, it becomes a doorway. It reveals the limits you've accepted. It shows you where you still operate from the past, from old conditioning, from the illusion of safety. And it invites you to rise, not in aggression, but in awareness. That's the real power of these days. They burn away illusions. They test your readiness. They separate distraction from devotion. Let it all rise during this time, the doubt, the fear, the anger, the grief. Let it come, not so you can be consumed by it, but so you can finally meet it without running. These emotions are not obstacles, they are messengers. They show you what still holds power over you. And when you meet them with courage, their grip loosens. You reclaim your strength. The outer world may look unstable, and yes, systems may falter, plans may shift, but the world has always been in motion. The real question is, are you grounded? Are you rooted in something deeper than your circumstances? Because if you are, then no external event, no matter how intense, can shake your core. That's the clarity these days offer. That's the gift hidden inside the danger. Transformation never arrives with a polite knock. It comes with winds, with fire, with disruption, but all of it is meant to strip away what no longer belongs so you can step into who you truly are. These days may feel heavy, but heaviness is not the enemy. It's a sign that something meaningful is occurring beneath the surface. Don't run from it. Don't numb it. Let it do its work. Stand still, breathe deep, watch what rises, and trust that you have the strength to face it. Because the only real danger is pretending that nothing is happening. The only real threat is choosing comfort over truth. These 3 days carry a vibration of awakening, not gentle, but necessary. If you allow them to move you inward, if you allow them to reveal what's real, then on the other side, you will not just survive, you will emerge clearer, stronger, and more aligned with your purpose than ever before. The call to prepare is not about fear, it's about clarity. When specific days are marked, days like the 25th, 26th, and 27th, they don't just carry random energy, they pulse with significance, almost like a coded signal hidden in plain sight. The untrained eye might see just another sequence on a calendar, but those attuned to deeper rhythms can feel it. An inner stirring, a magnetic pull toward stillness, simplicity, and silence. That's not coincidence. That's a call to return to presence. Because what's coming isn't about panic. It's about precision, and the only way to move with precision is to first get still. Most people are constantly reacting to noise, to pressure, to screens, to timelines that were never theirs to begin with. So when the world whispers, pause, few are equipped to actually hear it. And fewer still are brave enough to obey. But this moment, these 3 days, are an invitation to do exactly that. To listen, to stop, to realign, not because something outside is crumbling, but because something inside is ready to be rebuilt. Preparation doesn't mean building walls. It means deepening roots. It means clearing your space, mentally, physically, emotionally, so that when life shifts, you are not shaken. In that sense, this preparation is less about stockpiling and more about subtracting. What are you carrying that you don't need anymore? What habits, what beliefs, what emotional clutter is taking up space in your mind and heart these days? Ask you to let go of the unnecessary so you can hear what truly matters. This is a kind of lockdown, yes, but not the kind defined by governments or headlines. This is a lockdown of distraction, a lockdown of toxic loops, a lockdown of energy leaks. It's a sacred withdrawal, not from life, but from distortion. It's a reset, a holy pulling back, so that when you step forward again, you're not just going through the motions. You're moving from alignment. That's the essence of real preparation. There's a reason why ancient traditions emphasize retreat before revelation. Mountains are climbed in silence. Visions come in stillness. Wisdom grows in the absence of noise. And these 3 days are a modern echo of that same rhythm. If you use them well, they become more than just time. They become a container for transformation. That's what makes them powerful. That's what makes them dangerous. Not because they destroy, but because they expose what must be destroyed within you to let your true self rise. To prepare means to simplify. That might mean fasting not just from food, but from input. News, scrolling, gossip, clutter. It might mean moving slower, speaking less, listening more. It might mean writing things down you've been afraid to say out loud. It might mean resting deeply without guilt. It might mean praying or meditating or walking in silence, not for performance, but to re-establish a connection with your own spirit. That connection is the anchor. Without it, any storm can knock you over. With it, no storm can touch your center. When you step into preparation with reverence, something beautiful happens. Your senses sharpen, time expands, the mind quiets, and in that space you begin to see the truth of things. You realize how much noise you've been tolerating, how many of your thoughts are not your own, how your energy has been stretched thin across things that don't feed your soul. And then, naturally, you begin to return to yourself, gently but powerfully. Some will ignore this time, and that's okay. Everyone moves in their own rhythm. But for those who feel the tug, the tension, the strange insistence that something is happening, this is the moment to pay attention. You don't need to explain it. You don't need others to understand. Just honor it. Follow it. Use these days to reorganize your inner world, not because something is wrong, but because something wants to be made right. And the truth is, this isn't a one-time thing. These 3 days are a portal, but they are also a pattern, a training ground. They teach you how to pause with purpose, how to return to source. And the more you practice that, the more resilient, intuitive, and clear you become. Not just during heightened moments, but always. Preparation becomes a way of life. Presence becomes your normal state. That's the power of real readiness. It's not reactive, it's receptive. It doesn't scream, it listens. And in the listening, you become more than just a person surviving time. You become a person in harmony with time, walking with it, moving in sync. That's what these days are really about. Not hiding from life, but learning how to meet it fully with steady hands and a clear heart. Alignment with divine timing is not about being in the right place at the right time by chance. It's about becoming the kind of person who is so rooted in presence, so tuned in to the deeper flow of life that you move in harmony with it. This isn't something you force, it's something you feel. And in moments when the world feels heavy or uncertain, there's an invitation to slow down, tune in, and let the inner compass guide you back to what is real. There is something profoundly sacred about honoring the unseen currents that guide your life. Most people are caught in the surface, deadlines, distractions, pressure, noise. But beneath all of that, there's a pulse, a rhythm, a kind of divine choreography that's always happening, whether we pay attention or not. And to align with it requires a choice, the choice to listen instead of react, to observe instead of judge, to trust instead of fear. Alignment is not a concept, it's a lived experience. It shows up in how you breathe when things feel tense. It reveals itself in how you speak, how you rest, how you treat others, and how you respond when plans fall apart. These 3 days are a chance to recalibrate that alignment, to not just talk about flow, but to actually practice moving with it. And that means paying attention to your own inner landscape, your thoughts, your emotions, your habits, and asking honestly, are these things in rhythm with who I'm becoming? If you felt out of sync lately, drained, overwhelmed, disconnected, these days are a sacred pause. Not a punishment, not chaos, but a chance to stop running, stop chasing, and instead receive what's already been waiting for you in the silence. There are answers you've been asking for. They don't come in the noise. They come when you create space for them. That space is alignment, and alignment always feels like peace, even if it leads you through discomfort. Think of divine timing like the tides. You can't control when they rise or fall, but if you're paying attention, you can move with them. You don't need to swim upstream anymore. You don't need to fight your way through things that are clearly closing. What's meant for you doesn't have to be forced. What's not meant for you doesn't need your convincing. These 3 days are like a mirror, showing you clearly what's in flow and what isn't. And the courage lies in letting go of what no longer fits. When you begin to align, life starts speaking more clearly. You notice synchronicities, nudges, patterns repeating, signs appearing in places you used to ignore. That's not coincidence, that's confirmation. That's the divine saying, you're on the path. Keep going. But staying in alignment takes discipline. It takes trust. Because sometimes what aligns with your soul doesn't align with your comfort zone, and that's okay. You're not here to stay small. You're here to expand, to evolve, to rise. Use these days to examine your direction. Not just what you're doing, but why you're doing it. Are your actions aligned with your values? Are your goals still in sync with your spirit? Or are they outdated blueprints of who you used to be? Let this time strip away the illusions. Let it refine your vision. Let it recenter